we have this thing in New Zealand where politicians sponsor a teenager to do youth parliament. There's a report out, and I think it was on RNZ, there it is. Youth MPs accuse government of censoring them, ministry says otherwise. The protocols followed for this year's youth parliament are the same as the previous year, the Ministry of Youth Development says, after accusations of censorship. However, the email sent to one youth MP carries the subject line, changes required, and stated the ministry, quote, have had to make some changes. This comes down to because what the youth do, they get together and they have like a time in the debating chamber and they debate. And what they're saying, some of these youth are saying that they've been told what they can and can't say, and they're not allowed to be critical of the government. What the government is saying is, well, the thing is, in the House, these teenagers don't have parliamentary privilege, so we're just advising them on what might be defamatory or sub judice or whatever it might be. So they're saying, but they've never done that before at all, ever. This is a really weird story because it's got like 3 stories in one, and I don't remember what the story is that it starts. But you hear when I play it, it sounds like they're not talking about the youth conversation, but they are. Just give it the first 20 seconds, have a listen.
The government's KiwiSaver changes kick in today.
Weird. It's talking about KiwiSaver, then it takes a hard turn to youth MPs.
$2.3 billion over 4 years. It was this day 18 years ago KiwiSaver was first launched, the same age as some of the youth MPs participating at Parliament this week. And the government today faced awkward accusations from those youth MPs who claim they were told not to criticise the coalition's policies in their speeches. Political correspondent Zane Small has the developments.
Youth MPs having their say today in the House of Representatives.
We're witnessing a widening gap in Aotearoa between those who have access to opportunity and those who don't.
Too many are stuck in a system built for the past.
Speeches, some of them say, were censored by the Ministry of Youth Development.
We've been told to soften our language, to drop key parts of our speeches, and to avoid criticising certain ministers or policies.
The censorship and the alterations of speeches undermines the capacity of...
Just as we're going on, doesn't this girl just sound like she's going to be a politician? The way she speaks and enunciates is like she is going to be a public speaker as she goes up, whatever role she takes.
Censorship and the alterations of speeches undermines the capacity of our youth MPs to freely share their beliefs and their experiences on issues that impact them.
The Minister for Youth.
And I don't know if you noticed, but she's looking straight down the barrel of she's looking straight down the barrel of the camera as well the whole time she's talking. Look straight down the barrel of the camera.
And their experience.
The little Chloe, that's all. Or maybe a little Tamitha, whichever you want to pick.
On issues that impact them.
The Minister for Youth, James Meagher, says it's a misunderstanding.
The Ministry of Youth Development has at all times said that what the youth MPs say in their speeches is entirely up to them, but the Ministry provides them support and advice on how to keep themselves safe from things like defamation, breaches of privacy, and maintaining the code of conduct and the standing orders that they all signed up to. So that might be where the confusions come from.
The whole reason we have a youth parliament is to have the debates that young New Zealanders want to have, and they should feel free to express their views.
The Minister of Finance has told us that this didn't come as a directive from Cabinet. Does that make you feel better?
No, because I think it still shows that there's systematic injustice.
We've been told to not argue on either side of contentious issues such as the pay equity reforms.
The opposition filling in the gap and bringing the government's pay equity changes back into the political spotlight.
Now that's the end of the youth thing. We'll play the end of this because this is interesting what's happening as well. It's a little bit of theatre, but I guess it's a way of keeping it in the forefront. So basically, the youth. I'll come back to this. The youth are reporting, as I said, that they have had to make changes, and they've had to make some changes, and they've been told that feels like that maybe the government's been called out a little bit, and they're going, oh no. Changes recommended included the removal of general mentions of the Treaty Principles Bill, funding for Māori in Pacifica, and pay equity. Speeches about youth voice and freedom of speech were also edited. That is very different from talking about, privacy and defamation. So let's just let that sit where it is now and then go on to the second part of the story, which is Labor highlighting the Equal Pay Act debacle.
Can vow that Labor will be doing everything we can to support you and to make sure that we get this right for our care and support workers.
Today, care workers were presented with giant fake bank cheques, representing the amount unions say they missed out on, after the government narrowed the scope of pay equity claims, saving nearly $13 billion. The 1st of July marks 3 years since their pay equity claim was made.
My only thoughts, and we'll go to this lady speaking, my only thoughts is I hope that they're on board, because this is being used by the opposition to highlight what these guys didn't get. I hope they don't feel at all taken advantage of. I hope they're all on board. Because kind of being handed a big check to say, this is what you would have got, if you're not fully on board, could be a bit slack. I'm sure they are, but I would just put that out there that I hope they're all on board and understand that this is theatre, but it's theatre to an end of helping the issue that this government has caused around pay equity. These people who have missed out on their pay don't necessarily need to be the ones in the firing squad, but the opposition MPs are the ones who should be, and that's part of their job, to be in the firing squad. So I hope that's all been done. I'm assuming it has, but I'm just putting it out there to go, we want to make sure that those people are looked after as well.
It has been a long haul, especially for those grandmothers, mothers, daughters that have put in their hard work to be valued.
Today also marks the beginning of the government's changes to KiwiSaver. Its contribution to the scheme will be halved to $260 a year. Those who earn more than $180,000 will no longer be eligible for the government's contribution. Plus, 16 and 17-year-olds in the workforce can now join the scheme. From April next year, the default contribution rate...
This government doesn't care about small business, Chewie. They're making small business pay more. They're making small business pay more for KiwiSaver. They don't care about small business.
For employers and workers will rise from 3% to 3.5%, which technically will more than make up the difference of the government's smaller contribution.
Overall, these changes mean that New Zealanders will have bigger savings at retirement or when they go to buy their first home.
We're seeing about 40,000 Kiwis a year withdraw their KiwiSaver to buy their first home, and we're seeing about 50,000 reach 65 every year and eligible to draw down on their KiwiSaver. So the impact it's having on people's lives is huge.
Another policy coming into effect today should give first home buyers a bit more peace of mind about their savings in the unlikely event of a bank collapse.
I'm interested in this as well, because I can remember, I think it was South Canterbury Finance or Canterbury Finance fell over, and that's when we all learned about how your there was some banks and some lending institutes that had guaranteed money looked after. Like, in other words, if like the ASB went bankrupt, the government guaranteed that your money was safe, and they basically took insurance and they covered the money in the certain number of banks or financial institutions. Others weren't. I had family members who were with the global financial crisis who lost $250,000 and those ones weren't covered. Now, this sounds like what they're doing is changing it. I need to do some more work on this, because they're now saying they're guaranteeing $100,000, up to $100,000. I think the previous, like the South Canterbury Finance or the other banks, it was just whatever's in there is covered. So this sounds like it's something that the government's doing, which is positive, but I need, again, the details. We need to find out more about this.
Under the new deposit compensation scheme, deposits with banks and other lenders will now be insured up to $100,000 per person.
The scheme is in line with what Australia, the United Kingdom, other countries around the world have. And it's being paid for by the financial institutions themselves through it.
Notice she hasn't said it's better as to what the previous one was. She's just pointing to Australia, saying this is what they do over there. So it does. My bullshit nerve's going off. I could be wrong, but my bullshit nerve's going off.
Some solace, perhaps, for these fired-up youth, that their savings in the bank will now be protected.
That'll do. There you go, Chewie. That's us for tonight.
Can you imagine having a worse group of people to try and sort of send an edict down on high that they should edit their words? Getting selected for youth parliament. You have some extremely driven, extremely ideological people, and they're teenagers, so they already don't give a fuck about what you say and have a general disdain for how you're running things anyway. It's very clear that they never expected the press to get a hold of it. Oh shit, no, we're not censoring the kids.
So you know about what I just said. South Canterbury finance deposits were covered under, it was called the New Zealand Retail Deposit Guarantee Scheme, meaning the government guaranteed repayment to depositors. According to this article, there's no limit on it. The scheme was triggered when South Canterbury Finance was placed in receivership. The government paid out approximately $1.6 billion to depositors under this guarantee. So I'll keep reading on that, but that says to me, well, it didn't say up to $100,000 in this article, but it is only one. My bullshit nerve's gone off, so we are going to chase up on that, because if it's correct that it was any amount, this is actually a downgrade. If it was only up to $100,000, this is a new way of doing it. But if it was what it was, what's the change? So we'll follow. We'll chase it up, Whānau. We'll chase. Oh yeah, here we go. Very short says this. Yep, very short says we've got some confirmation. So this is a downgrade. Yep, there we go. Yep, no limit, and now there's a limit of 100K. Means it's worse. So there you go. So this government has just, if it was an insurance policy, has just devalued the amount of payout, which means they're not going to be paying as much. So they're not going to be on the hook for as much. So that gives them future guarantee of money and less risk of paying out big amounts in the future. Shitty, eh? Shitty. Who would have thought Chewie would get to the end of the show and would finally find something to criticise this government on? They're always so above the board normally.
It's been a long road, but I
shocking.
think the lesson that people can take away from here is no longer how long the road is and how steep the struggle. Follow your dreams. It'll come to you.